Hello and welcome back to Rebellious Menstruation. This is a book review of Jane Austen's 1811 novel Sense and Sensibility, originally published anonymously by a lady. Jane Austen, December 16, 1775 to July 1817, wrote 6 novels critiquing the British gentry while exploring the precocious social standing of women, irrelevant of whether they were married or not. Her father, George Austen, came from an old, revered, wealthy family of merchants. However, his line was poverty-stricken, and as a child he was orphaned. George still attended Oxford and was likely to have met his wife, also from a family of good social standing, Cassandra Lee, at this time. They had 6 children, 4 boys and 2 girls, and were based in Stevenson Parish, where George was a rector. The Austen family's income was exceptionally modest, between George Rector's payment and Cassandra's limited inheritance, and George supplemented his income by educating 3 or 4 male children boarders at the time. However, while the Austen sisters received some external education in their early youth, the majority of their education was at home and was allegedly to be exactly the same as that of the male students her father taught. Her brothers returned from external education, and they too shared their knowledge. Austen wrote stories and plays quite early. By 11 it was told, and by 1796 was working on her second novel, titled at that time Eleanor and Mary Ann. However, it is unknown how much of this early manuscript ended up in the 1811 first edition. Sense and Sensibility tells the story of the 4 Dashwood women: Mother Miss Dashwood, eldest daughter Eleanor, middle daughter Mary Ann, and tween Margaret. When Father Henry Dashwood dies, the estate that they were living at, which was really Henry's wealthy uncle, passes to Henry's eldest son, John Dashwood, from his first marriage, and John Dashwood's own son, infant son Harry. Henry benefited from the estate, however was unable to change his uncle's will to accommodate his second wife and daughters. While John Dashwood promised to take care of his stepmother and half-sisters, his wife, bitter Miss Fanny, persuades her husband that the wealth should remain for their own child's sake. The 4 Dashwood women move to a cottage on a cousin's property, Barton Estates, in Devonshire, with Sir and Lady Middleton. Here is where the main story commences, as the Dashwoods settle into local society, meeting Lady Middleton's mother, Miss Jennings, neighbour Colonel Brandon, who takes an immediate interest in Mary Ann, and the handsome, irascible John Willoughby, whose attention Mary Ann covets. This, of course, leads to a variety of encounters between these collections of characters and the subtle interest of Eleanor's love interest, Edward Ferrars, rarely seen but hugely felt. Eleanor is the responsible decision-maker of the family, over the sensibility of both her mother and her sister. She is reserved and practical, which of course influences her choices as protagonist. She holds a deep affection for Edward Ferrars, her half-brother's wife's brother, but has accepted the futility of their doomed, unapproved union. Mary Ann, on the other hand, is rash and impulsive, and this is more often than encouraged by her mother, and these decisions lead her to make socially irresponsible decisions, like falling in love with Willoughby. She recoils from people she doesn't like and makes her dislike rather obvious in a society where facades are important. However, this is the joy in this book, that the flaws in all the characters here are not their doom, that they are flawed, for sure, but they are sisters and daughters and members of society, and within all of these constraints, people. The limitations of these women, Austen herself could not legally sign contracts for her own books and could not publish under her own name, while apparent do not exist to hamper their efforts, but to highlight the difficulty in the options presented to and for women, often depending on the kindness of relatives and cousins. These limitations are also placed on the men in the story. The will of the Dashwood's uncle being stitched up to only benefit 3-year-old Harry, and corralling the options of Henry, John and the Dashwood Four, both Edward Ferrars and Willoughby being impoverished and living at the will of their family members until they're both disinherited from their family fortunes. This is my favourite Austen by far, and I've had several copies over the years. There have, as in the case with other of Austen's work, been several big and small screen adaptations, remakes, and of course interpretations. By far my favourite is Ang Lee's and Emma Thompson's 1995 film version, also starring Kate Winslet and Alan Rickman and Hugh Grant. Thank you for watching. Enjoy your morning, afternoon or evening, depending on where you are in the day. And I, of course, will see you all next video. Bye.